Hello there and welcome to the show, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2025 live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon. The original How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favorite animated films of all time. I've rewatched it so many times over the years. However, it wasn't a film that I watched in theaters. Instead, I watched this for the first time on DVD years after the movie came out, and I loved the film, and I loved the sequel, and the third film, Hidden World, I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed the series as well. I am a big fan of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, and I was pretty excited for this film. And I gotta say, as far as live-action remakes go, it is a pretty good one. It is one of the best live-action remakes in my opinion, primarily because it is almost a one-to-one remake of the original. It just goes to show, as long as you don't deviate too much from the source material, you are going to tell a pretty good story. So like I mentioned, the story of the remake is pretty much the original. Dragons are invading Berk. Stoic the Vast leads a crew of Vikings to attack the home base. In the meanwhile, a group of teenagers are being trained to be the next generation of dragon fighters. Our main character, Hiccup, he befriends a dragon, the Night Fury Toothless, and that is the basic premise of this movie. The best part of this film, as it was in the original, Hiccup and Toothless. Their relationship, the way it was presented, was great. Mason Thames, in my opinion, does a phenomenal job as Hiccup. He is the best actor in this film, in my opinion. Toothless, I like that for the design they didn't go too photorealistic and maintained a couple of cartoon elements in the design, and I thought that the way the dynamic was presented was pretty good. Gerard Butler as Stoic the Vast, he reprises his role from the original animated films, and he does a great job as Stoic in this film. Also, the scene when Hiccup and Toothless are flying for the first time, you feel the excitement and the energy when they are in the air. It is a great scene, was phenomenal in the animated film and just as good here. The actual training got a little more time in this film. Also, the final battle between the Vikings and the Red Death, I enjoyed that final battle more in this film than the original film. However, that being said, that is the only part of the film that the live-action remake did better than the original, in my opinion. So, I mentioned that Hiccup and Stoic were the best performances in the film. However, I do feel that the original was better. There are certain lines and scenes that are cut from this movie. One in particular, there's a scene in the original at the end of the first flight where Toothless releases a plasma blast. They fly into it, and the next scene is Hiccup burnt, and he and Toothless are eating fish, and then a group of terrible terror dragons come over. That scene is great, and the closing line of that scene, "Everything we know about you guys is wrong," that line is not in the remake, which I do not understand, because it is a great scene. I don't know why it was cut from this film. This film cut a couple of really good lines and good scenes from the original, and I just didn't understand why. Certain things are changed. The Book of Dragons scene in the original, it was very well done, and in this remake it just feels like another scene. As far as the other characters go, Fishlegs and Snotlout were presented well in my opinion. Rough and Tough, they were funnier in the original animated film. Astrid came off kind of wooden. I wasn't a big fan of Astrid, but to me the character that got the biggest disservice is Gobber. Gobber in the original was hilarious, and his presentation was really well. I was not a fan of how Gobber was presented in this film. The dragon designs, Toothless, his design was perfect. The Monstrous Nightmare, Hookfang, Stormfly, the Natters, those two dragons were designed pretty well. Arf and Belch, the Zippleback, I was not a fan of the design. Meatlug, the Gronkle, I don't know what happened, but something got lost when they were translating it from animated form to live action form. That live action redesign did not look good. The Red Death looked a lot better in my opinion. This film has funny moments that got me to laugh pretty hard at certain parts. I mentioned the final fight was done pretty well, and the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, as well as Hiccup and Stoic, was presented pretty well. The romance between Hiccup and Astrid was presented fine, but again, much like a lot of the other things, I felt was done better in the animated version than in this version. Overall, the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. This is a good film. It's a pretty enjoyable film. However, when you compare it to the original is a a lot better, and there's no comparison between the two. As far as live action remakes go, this is one of the better ones, but I mean, the bar for live action remakes of animated classics is so low, that statement doesn't really hold a lot of value. All that being said, this is a pretty good film. It's a solid, well-made film. It's got some good laughs, it's got some good action, and it's got some moments of heart as well. And overall, a pretty solid film. And those are my thoughts on the live-action How to Train Your Dragon remake. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Instagram at Said_2000, and I will see you on the next video. Till then, take care.